I'm not mad. I'm not gonna get mad. This is fine. Welcome back to the Waltz Freestyle Trick Tip, where every episode we break down a freestyle skateboarding trick for you to go out and learn. And today we have a very special episode. We're breaking down a trick that I get a lot of questions about and see a lot of people doing really wrong, and it's the Casper. Now today we're going to be breaking down two versions of the Casper, the flop to Casper and the rail stand to Casper. Now there are a lot of do's and don'ts with this trick, and once you have these two versions, there's a lot of variations you can unlock with Caspers. So let's get right to it. Now what we call the flop to Casper is sort of the easiest variation of the Casper trick. Now this is done by starting on the grip tape of the board and using pressure on the heel side rail of the board to rotate the board over, landing with your back foot on the tail and your front foot holding the board up off the ground. Now from here you'll dismount by kind of swinging the board forward with your front foot while giving a quick end over end scoop with your back foot and landing with all four wheels down and with your feet over the bolts. And see, it's that easy. Just go out and do it now. It's like, that's all it is. So that was a lot. Let's break down exactly what's happening and how you can go out and learn this today. To begin the flop to Casper, you'll want to have your back foot in the center of the tail with a good amount of your foot hanging off the toe side rail of the board. That is the kind of front side of the board. And you want to have your front foot just behind the front truck bolts along the heel side rail of the board. I like to have my foot at kind of a 45-degree angle pointed up the length of the board. Now starting out, you want to have a little bit of tension built up under your front foot. You'll begin to press down on your front foot and take some weight off of your back foot. This will kind of initiate a pressure flip rotation in the kickflip direction. Now that front foot will be pressing the board directly downward, so the board starts to flip up and over your front foot. As this is happening, you'll want to dip your back shoulder, lean back and shift your weight back over your back foot so that once the board has rotated half a flip in the kickflip direction, your back foot can land on the tail and all of your weight can be placed over the tail of the board. Now this is where I see a lot of people get this trick incredibly wrong. And let's just take a minute real quick. Just take a quick minute.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
So there is no wrong way to do a trick. And you're doing a great job, I'm sure. Whoever you are. Maybe you got this trick nailed down. Wow. This is a boring video. Maybe you're like, what? I've been doing it wrong the whole time. Like skateboarding has no rules. Like you can ride two boards, you can ride four boards, you can not ride a board and just ride the two things with the wheels under it. There's no rules to this. Skateboarding is so much less fun when you put rules on it and you like start to try to tell people the right way or the wrong way to do things. It just limits creativity and it kind of ruins the fun. But I will say that if you're calling tricks Caspers, it's not a Casper if your foot's on the ground. Yeah. Everyone out there, you're doing great. Everybody who's been contributing to Freestyle and putting out videos of their own and learning tricks from the trick tips, you're crushing it. I've been so impressed lately by everybody who's contributing to this community. If you can do Caspers with one foot planted on the ground, you have every tool necessary to be able to do a Casper with your foot off the ground. We just gotta talk about how to do that and how to approach it and how to practice it. That's what we're gonna talk about right now. So as the board begins to flip over, you'll be shifting your weight back and dipping your back shoulder so that you can land with all of your weight over your back foot on the tail. Now at this point, your back foot should be pressing down on the tail while your front foot holds the deck up off the ground. This is a Casper, a proper flippable Casper. It's awesome. It's gonna feel terrible at first, but eventually they're gonna feel great, I promise. Now from here, you'll be doing an end over end flip to dismount from the Casper, to get that board back on all four wheels. So how do we do that? Now the easiest way I found to learn the dismount from Casper is to kind of combine an end over end flip, kind of like an impossible, and sort of a swinging shove it motion. Now the way you'll do this is by lifting the board up slightly and shifting your hips forward so the board is at a 45-degree angle to your shoulders. Now from here, you'll give a little bit of a hop and pull the board up even more with your front foot while scooping the board ever so slightly back, kind of like a shove it. This should send the board in sort of a end over end, kind of shove-it-y, impossible-y rotation, throwing the board back to the wheels. Notice that in these clips, as I drive the board forward with my front foot, I'm scooping the board under with my back foot and jumping slightly to my right to land on the grip tape. This is not an easy part of the trick, so take your time with this. Doing the dismount for a Casper requires a lot of strength and sort of muscles that you don't necessarily have right out the gate. So it's gonna take some time to figure out the right way to approach that shove it and scoop and push-pull motion with your foot. As you progress with your Caspers and as you get better at that dismount, you'll begin to do less of a rotation, less of that 45-degree push before you shove the board, and you'll be able to do just a quick end-over-end kind of scissor kick with your feet. Any expert freestyle that you'll see do a Casper does a quick up, over, and down, under between their front foot and their back foot. So if you're already landing your Caspers, you can definitely improve them by thinking about keeping the board closer under your feet and doing more of the work with your back foot by scooping under rather than jumping to the side. It will allow you to stay more balanced, and it will also help you to develop better variations, things like Caspers to Caspers, Caspers to rail, Casper 360 flips and 360 shove-its out. There's so many variations that come with being able to get the strength in your back foot to do that full scoop. But maybe you didn't land it. Maybe you're still struggling with the Casper. Let's talk about the do's and don'ts and the things that you can do to make this trick easier for you.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?
Weight distribution is a key part of this trick. And as you begin to rotate the board around, it's important that your shoulders and your hips and everything about your center of gravity begins to shift back over your back foot. If you bend your knees, focus on dropping your hips, you might find it easier to shift that weight back. Rear foot position is also super important. Notice that when I'm setting up for this trick, most of my foot is actually angled downward and hanging off the toe side rail of the board. Now, if you don't have most of your foot hanging off the toe side rail, it's going to be really difficult for your foot to find its final position in Casper. Be sure to preload that front foot. Being able to develop some tension under that foot will really make the board flip faster and allow you to land in Casper sooner so that you can develop your balance and kind of regain your bearings in the stall. And with the dismount, you don't want to rely totally on your front foot to do all of the work. If you rely solely on your front foot to do the motion, you're gonna end up your foot kind of standing on the ground or kind of just jumping too far to the right to be able to land the trick properly and stably. Land it good.
You can't just go around making up new words.
And finally, check out how my feet are positioned. When I'm in the Casper stall, my feet aren't super spread out and they don't have to be 2 inches apart. Finding a comfortable position to stand in with your feet maybe shoulder width or a little bit narrower underneath the board will allow you to keep your balance and again, maintain that weight distribution over your back foot. Now, like I said, if you've been doing this trick with your foot down for ages, that's okay, but you have all of the tools that you need to do this trick with your foot off the ground. And once you've got these down, we can talk about rail stand Caspers. Let's talk about it right now. To do this trick, you're gonna start in a heel side rail stand. You'll be dropping down from this stance into a Casper with your back foot pinning the tail down and your front foot holding the deck up. From here, just like the previous trick tip, you'll be bringing the board forward and flipping the board end over end to land back with all 4 wheels on the ground and your feet on the grip tape. Now, if you haven't watched our heel side rail stand trick tip yet, go back and check that out. I'll have a tag right here. I did it right this time, maybe not. You'll notice my back foot is on the back edge of the wheel with most of my foot hanging off the front side of the rail. Now we'll get to why that happens in a moment. My front foot will begin on the front wheel. Nothing a whole lot different about how I'm setting up with my front foot. However, once we get to the motions to drop into the Casper, things get a little bit spicy. Now this trick is less of a jump and more of a drop. To drop into the Casper from rail stand, you'll begin by shifting your shoulders back and again dipping your back shoulder just like in the previous trick. And with most of your weight over the back foot, you will do a little bit of a swoop motion with your front foot. Notice my front foot steps off of the wheel and swings down to make contact with the grip tape, just as my back foot drops off of the wheel, kind of slips off the back edge of the wheel, pressing the board in a quarter kickflip rotation. That's right, we're talking quarter kickflips now, folks. Tiny rotations. And you'll focus on having your back foot land in the center of the tail with your front foot, again, holding the board up in a Casper stall. Now, if you're paying attention, you'll notice this is the exact same position from the previous trick tip, and the dismount is exactly the same as the previous Casper. Now, there are a couple of spots where this trick can get a little spicy. One is where you put your back foot setting up for the rail stand Casper. I really like having my foot on the back edge of that wheel, basically having my back foot barely on the wheel at all, mostly just standing with the heel of my foot on the rail of the board. So think about as the board rolls over, where your foot is going to naturally drop into position once the board finishes its rotation. Now with your front foot, you're gonna want to focus on doing that quick swoop. You'll notice that as my weight shifts back, the board kind of does a quick rock, and I sort of just shoot my foot underneath the board real quickly. Now this is definitely a timing thing that you have to work on. Your weight shifts back, your weight comes off your front foot, your foot shoots under the board, and then you drop down a quarter rotation to Casper. These things have to happen in sequence, and if you don't have the timing down, you're going to find the board is dropping without your foot shooting under in time. Now when I was learning this trick, my goal was to stab the board with my toe before I dropped it down so that my foot definitely got in there in time. And really, as long as you can get your foot off the wheel and swooped under before you drop the board that quarter rotation, you should be in a good position to land in Casper. Whether you're doing flop variations or Casper from rail variations, there's so many directions to go. Fakie rolling Caspers, or rail flip to Casper, Casper to Casper, varial heel flip to Casper variations. There's so much you can do with it, and this is really just a foundational trick that you can take in so many different directions. So give these a try. Again, if you have the skills to do the foot down Caspers, you have every tool you need to learn this variation. And I think you can go out right now and try it. Post a video of you doing these or even just learning these. Tag me, tag Waltz Skateboarding, and we'll probably feature you in future videos. But until next time, keep dancing, be good to each other, take care of each other, and we'll see you then.
Yeah.